It's all about Ajay Devgn, and he is discussing RRR and Bollywood's recovery. Now, this is coming in from Deadline, and it's a fantastic website, John. I always like Deadline, and it's such an in-depth
central alignment
article, and it's broken into parts. The first part's talking about the movie Drishyam 2, and obviously we had a lot of confusion over that release, but he talks about obviously the southern film industry as well, and how much a lot of the sort of northern studios are taking inspiration, not inspiration, they're fucking remaking them.
Well, I mean, that's
you know,
and
you know, and there's something about that, and something very humble about obviously Ajay Devgn and the way he talks about this as well. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to read maybe part of it. And wow, will I be able to read that? I'll try my best.
You should be, because your eyes are better than mine.
Panorama Studios' Drishyam 2, starring Ajay Devgn, has just had a strong opening at the Indian box office, taking around is that $9 million on its opening weekend, and holding up strongly today. That's Monday, November the 21st, guys, just in case you didn't know the date today. The crime drama sequel, directed by Abhishek Pathak and also stars Tabu and Akshay Khanna, is receiving a red carpet gala screening at the International Film Festival of India, which is great, in Goa this evening. So it is happening. It's happened probably now, because this evening's already the future in India for where we're sitting at the moment. And Devgn sat down with Deadline in Goa to discuss the film, which was partly filmed in the Indian beachside state.
I can't tell you how jealous I am.
I know, it sounds amazing. His thoughts on the current state of Hindi language, aka Bollywood cinema, and some of the upcoming projects. I'll read a little bit more, John, after we get... Yeah, there's lovely trainers there. Indian audiences have become much more demanding since the first Drishyam was released in 2015. Devgn starts off by explaining it's not just that the audience has been seeing much more content during the pandemic, it's also the way production technology has changed. We've upgraded everything for Drishyam 2 because the film should not look outdated, says Devgn, who is a filmmaker himself with 3 films under his belt as director. And this is what he said. So the tone of the film, colour palette, style of shooting has also been adapted. It looks edgier, more real, but the story definitely starts right from where the first one ended.
Do you want it to be more real looking?
In fact,
cinematic sort of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
stuff going on.
In fact, you really need to see the first Drishyam before you watch the sequel. Well, that's naturally the case. This is what Devgn says it anyway. Now, John, before I was going to carry on reading there, but I think
there's a couple more.
I think this is the next part I'll get into afterwards. But John, a lot of people in the community have said that we should react to Drishyam 2. We have to put it out there first. We've not seen the first film.
Yeah.
We've seen a couple of trailers from the south.
Yeah, the Malayalam,
the original one. We then went into
we did the first one with Malayalam, the Mahanlal one, and then we reacted to the second one, which was... Oh no, did we? We reacted to the first one, which was the Ajay Devgn Hindi remake, and then the second one was Mahanlal, and we're like, what's going on here?
This was early days.
In our sort of venture into Indian cinema. We weren't aware of all of these regional remakes. We weren't aware that a lot of people in different states in India, different languages, refuse to watch the other states' movies. People in the north don't watch the south. They're battling. There's a bit of a competition.
We were very naive back in the day, John, but
we got there in the end.
And so just to the community, if we're going to obviously watch Drishyam 2, we have to watch Drishyam the first movie first, and you can decide what one we watch.
Well, I mean,
we'll put it to use.
Apparently it isn't bad, the Ajay Devgn one.
John, Ajay Devgn's a good actor as well. We saw him obviously in RRR, which we'll get into in a moment. I
always like to look at that Savai, I think it was.
Yeah.
Sort of ice one.
Yeah. If you can bring up the article again, John. No, well, that was the thing. I think maybe we probably lost it as well, because I think we did them all back to back. But I think it's just down a little bit, John. Just talking. We're talking about the remakes as well, and he talks about that. Obviously, adaptations from South Indian films, and he says it says here in the article, the film is one of the many Hindi productions adapted from South Indian films. So, what is it about films from the South that makes them so adaptable? Some of them are just extremely well written, especially Malayalam cinema.
You've not watched a single Malayalam movie?
No, mental. Says Devon. They have some great writers who are very intelligent and very smart. But then, of course, during the pandemic, audiences all over India all started watching dubbed and subtitled films of the original South Indian films, not just their Hindi remakes, thus changing the definition of a pan-Indian movie. Yeah. Just a few years ago, it was thought that only Bollywood films could reach a truly nationwide audience in India.
I mean, we've seen that with SS Rajamouli.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. And he says it's not just Western audiences that discovered South Indian films during the pandemic. The rest of India discovered them as well, laughs Devon, who starred in SS Rajamouli's RRR, the Telugu language film that has been a record-breaking global hit.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah, for the short period of time he was in, John.
Punch.
And he also says during the pandemic our audience took to OTT. A lot of the content was dubbed or subtitled and language was no longer a barrier. So in a way, there's good things that have obviously come out of the pandemic in terms of the film industries and acceptance.
We were talking about that during the pandemic though, Stephen. The South was actually doing better business than the North.
Yep.
It was almost carrying the Indian box office on its shoulders, on its back. Obviously, Telepathy released Master. There was a lot of big releases came out from the South, and they seem to be getting quite a bit of momentum down in the South. And I think it coincided with controversy up north. There was an actor who was found dead in I think his apartment. I think he'd committed suicide, and there was a lot of insinuations at the time that he'd been bullied, he'd been ostracised, and people were blown back against North Indian cinema, the Bollywood industry. I don't know how true that is because I didn't go that deep.
Well, that's the thing, John. And the moment that we stepped in was round about the sort of just the first few months, I would say, of the pandemic, wasn't it?
Yeah,
it probably was, yeah.
Yeah, it would have been round about then, yeah.
2019.
Yeah. Was it?
Was it 2019?
2020. It was the
2020,
pandemic. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it was August 2020 we started down the sort of route of Indian films. So,
because Master had just come out.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and we reacted to Vafi coming. We watched KGF Chapter 1. We watched Padmavat. So it was around about late 2019, early 2020. So it was around about this time, and we obviously went right down into Southern Indian cinema initially. So and then we've obviously went and started watching North Indian cinema as well. So we're getting to see both sides.
What's that? Yeah.
And from what I have seen, to be fair, there is a lot of very talented Southern Indian film people in general.
I think you've got it as well, John. That a lot of people, and we've seen it, not so much in our community, but you've seen it across social media when the North do an adaptation of a Southern film, and you've seen people maybe in the South taking offence to that, whereas
they shouldn't.
I would take that as a compliment. You know, that they're actually, it's not about stealing. I mean, there's artistic license in there, and I think we see it all over the world anyway. We've not watched, but we know that obviously Amir Khan has took an adaptation of Forrest Gump, a very famous Western film, and adapted it to Indian cinema.
Bong Joon-ho or Boon Jong-ho, I always get his name mixed up. Parasite, there's a remake happening at HBO. He's involved.
Yeah,
happens all the time.
That's it. Yeah, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. 9 times out of 10 Western films, when they're adapted in some fashion, they tend to not work. I think it's just the nature of society in the West.
I think it's because the West has plagiarised the living fucking hell out of every other part of the planet's sort of culture, their beliefs, everything. We've took it all, brought it into a sort of melting pot, and we just bastardise it and make movies. I've seen that with the comics, heavily inspired by the likes of Norse. I don't know what you call it, Norse, or what's the name I'm thinking about? Mythology, sort of ancient Greek mythology, Indian mythology. Don't want to say mythology because I know a lot of people in the community say it's not a myth, it happened. I'm just speaking like Norse mythology. It's kind of similar. So it's talking of gods and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Some people believe in it, other people do not believe in it. I wasn't there. I don't know if it was real or not. I'm just saying. we have plagiarised it.
It's Ajay Devgn.
A lot.
He's an actor, John, that we didn't really talk about when we've been covering Triple R. We've mentioned him, but obviously Ram Charan and NTR Jr. were the stars of the show. Let's not beat around
He
the
was the
bush.
third
But
best by
I
far.
think Ajay Devgn, it just added some sort of gravity to the film as well, especially when you're doing a flashback and you're wanting a familiar face and then an established actor as well that can sort of carry that sequence across, especially when they do a flashback, it's almost a new cast for that sequence, you know, and when you do that, you know, you're in danger of taking the audience out of the picture.
Bahubali, in which case Prabhas is
just changes his moustache.
Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, but and the Five Bloods, they just use the same actors, don't de-age them or anything like that.
Which
but
was cool.
I think, John, in these kind of sequences, it's very important to get an established actor in, and it was an amazing flashback as well, just the storytelling and the way he carried it across as well. Very tragic events, but just felt his presence in those moments as well. A fantastic actor, John, and I think we'll all have to check out Drishyam and Drishyam 2 at some point.
I do want to check out more of Ajay Devgn because I do like the guy. I like his sort of vibe. I remember reacting solo to a historical sort of musical thing, and it looked fucking epic. This guy was flying across sort of parapets on a horse and stuff. It did look epic.
Yeah.
Stephen, I want to go and watch just an out-and-out fucking musical, similar to Padmavat. It's been too long.
Yeah.
I love Padmavat.
Yeah.
I absolutely loved the Binta Dil, I think it was called, song. It was Ranveer Singh and his little... the guy had like a western sounding name. I'm going to bring it up.
It was a great story as well, John.
Binta Dil, Massinia. I remember
You've
that
got some
song.
memory, I'm
It's like
telling you.
fucking 2 years ago and I still remember it.
Rajput musician.
Jim Saab.
Yeah.
He sang it. Yeah. He
That's
was
right, yeah.
Yeah.
Malik,
You remember that,
yeah.
Yeah, I fucking love that film.
I remember we compared him to...
Sacha Baron.
Yeah, Sacha Baron Cohen, yeah.
He really does look like
Yeah.
him.
It's funny that, isn't it?
Because I didn't think he looked like... I thought he was born in like Britain and moved to India.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Yep.
He does, he looks like Sacha Baron. But no, he was born in Mumbai. And yeah, not that old either, to be fair. He looks older.
He looks like the Prime Minister there.
He does look like the Prime Minister there.
That's it, very sharp. Yeah.
Do a better job. But Stephen, yeah man, look, it's great to see someone of his standing in the North addressing the adaptations, addressing the sort of changing the tides, if you like, to use a terrible analogy, of Indian cinema. Because for a long time, from what my basic knowledge, limited knowledge, you thought of India, you thought of Bollywood. You didn't think of Hollywood, Tollywood, all of the other ones. You just didn't. You thought of Bollywood in the West. I think that's changed over the last couple of years during the pandemic with the Access to Rajamouli. We personally have seen the likes of Telepathy, Vijay Sethupathi, Surya, Dhanush, all these great South Indian actors, even the fucking dancers and directors, Prabhudeva, Allu Arjun. We know of these people and we realise how diverse now it is. I think that's something that's maybe even on the subcontinent starting to change the attitude, and it's great to see him recognising it because the only way they can sort of diversify and get to that level of sort of not giving a shit, because we've seen them speaking about that before with Telugu cinema. They just don't care. They make their movies the way they want to make them.
Actor is, I think any actor, John, the established actor that knows they're sort of worth their weight in gold in terms of a Shah Rukh Khan or something like that, he does pay respect to different industries throughout the country as well. So
we've seen that with Vijay.
Sethupathi, you know, and I think that's important. I think it does break barriers down. I think we might just be at that. We might just be at the sort of top of the hill now, you know, and we're seeing the sort of horizon now for more pan-Indian productions.
And Stephen, look, he's saying it there as well. I mean, in the actual article I'm looking at it, Brahmastra, Bull, breaking the sort of box office drought. He's talking about how he does. Can I bring this up? I think it may work, it may not. He's speaking about how do you break the sort of box office drought that Bollywood, I think, is experiencing. And he's talking about it's great for audiences to get back into the habit of going. You should get to see 2 or 3 films in a row and have a great experience.
Yeah,
it's true. We've seen this over here. To be fair, I was going to the theatre during the fucking pandemic. I think, clearly I'm a fucking nut bar. But you need to regain trust, not just in terms of post-pandemic, going to a theatre. I think that's already happened. I've seen, by the way, some fucking unbelievable theatres in India, man. I actually watched a funny video of a guy filming two people who fell asleep watching Brahmastra. The theatre was fucking huge, gigantic.
Fell asleep?
They fell asleep watching Brahmastra, and the two guys were howling, laughing at these two fucking people sleeping, like midway up, watching Brahmastra, a big epic sort of tale it's supposed to be.
It's like your dad falling asleep at Jurassic
Park,
Park,
yeah, that was my first experience. Yeah. I didn't fall asleep. I was fucking riveted by Steven Spielberg and what he gave us. But Stephen, you have to regain trust in the industry as well. That they are perhaps looking to do something a little bit more adventurous. As we speak about Drishyam 2, a remake of a West South Indian film. Oh, there's the fucking intro coming up again. And it'll come up when I click that little emote again. That's not what it is. It's not an emote. What is it called? A macro. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, man, look, I'm glad we've got to experience both sides. South, North. We've not seen every industry's movies. Still not watched them, but we can see the benefits of both.